Welcome back to the Page Club, everyone. You know the drill. Hit subscribe, smash that like button, and share this deep dive with your friends.
That's right. We appreciate the support.
And speaking of things to appreciate, today we're diving into a book that's, well, it sparked some serious conversations.
Oh, yeah.
Robert Greene's The 48 Laws of Power. Have you heard of this one?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's known for its exploration of power dynamics throughout history. But it's also got a bit of a controversial reputation when it comes to ethics.
For sure. And we both actually read the whole thing, cover to cover. Buckle up, folks. Greene jumps right in with this idea that power dynamics are basically everywhere, just woven into how we interact with each other.
Yeah.
And he argues that if you can understand his 48 laws, you can actually use that knowledge to navigate those situations.
It's like he's handing you a playbook for ambition.
Right. It's packed with historical examples and strategies that can help you, I guess, climb that ladder of influence.
And he defines power really specifically, right from the start. Influence, control, the ability to really shape outcomes to your advantage.
Okay, so some of the laws seem pretty straightforward at first glance, like conceal your intentions.
Right.
But then you get to some that are a little more, whoa, hold on a second, like never outshine the master.
Yeah, that one raises an eyebrow for sure. Basically, it's saying excel, yes, but don't make your superiors feel threatened.
It's a delicate dance.
It really makes you think about what kind of environment would actually necessitate that kind of advice.
Right. Almost like saying, play the game, but don't win too hard. I don't know if I'm fully on board with that one.
That's a tough one.
It is. And he goes even deeper. Building a reputation, being mysterious, even using enemies as stepping stones. And he pulls examples from everywhere, like Queen Elizabeth I to, I don't know, someone from pop culture.
Yeah, he weaves together history, psychology, even pop culture, which I think helps it connect with a lot of people.
I could see that. Yeah. Definitely keeps things interesting. But there's this underlying feeling like some of these laws could be used in ways that are, well, less than ethical.
For sure. I mean, one of the most talked about laws is keep your hands clean. Basically saying you should maintain this appearance of innocence while you're pulling strings behind the scenes.
It's like Puppet Master 101.
Right. So effective, but you can't escape the ethical questions that come with it.
It makes you wonder, is that really how we want to move through the world?
Yeah, I mean, that's where the big debate around this book really lies, right? Is it a neutral look at how power works? Or is it basically endorsing a manipulative, even amoral approach to life?
$1,000,000 question right there. And it's something we're going to be unpacking a lot more as we keep diving into these 48 laws.
Definitely.
Something that really struck me was how Greene uses figures like Chairman Mao to illustrate his points.
Oh, yeah.
Mao Zedong. Talk about a powerful example.
Right.
It makes you pause and think about what could go wrong if you embrace this power at any cost kind of thinking.
Absolutely. I mean, you have to wonder about the psychological effects of seeing the world through this constant lens of power struggles. Does it lead to paranoia, isolation, lack of genuine connection?
Like, if you're pushing for power the way Greene defines it, could it actually backfire in the long run?
Potentially. Are you really winning if you end up alienated from everyone around you?
Exactly. That's a good point. So we need to be careful as we go through these laws. Really think about this. Is the way Greene sees power, the pursuit of it, is it really a path that leads to fulfillment?
That's the question.
It is. But before we get too deep into that, let's back up for a second and look at why this book is so popular in the first place. Why has it resonated with so many people?
Yeah, it's a bestseller year after year, huge following. Even celebrities, people like Jay-Z and 50 Cent, have praised it. So what is it about this book that speaks to people even with all these ethical concerns?
Well, it's direct. It's almost like a self-help book in a way. And in a world that feels chaotic and unpredictable, maybe people find comfort in these clear-cut laws for getting ahead.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It offers a sense of control, a plan to follow when it feels like everything else is out of your hands.
Exactly. And especially today when things feel more and more complex and uncertain, maybe there's an appeal to believing you can manipulate your way to the top. Like, follow these rules and you'll come out on top no matter what.
Right. Almost like a security blanket for ambition.
Mm-hmm.
But the question still stands. Does chasing power, the way Greene talks about it, really lead to happiness? Or is it just this endless chase that leaves you feeling empty?
That's a big question, and it's something we're going to be unpacking more as we delve deeper into the intricacies the 48 Laws of Power.
We are. And before we move on, don't forget to subscribe to the Page Club for more deep dives like this.
Hit that like button if you're enjoying the episode.
And share it with your fellow bookworms.
We're just getting started, so stay tuned for more insights and thought-provoking discussions on Robert Greene's controversial masterpiece. As we've been going through the 48 Laws of Power and really digging into some of the more thought-provoking parts, and let's be real, some parts are kind of unsettling.
Right.
One thing that struck me is how many contradictions there are in the book.
Oh, for sure. It's like Greene wants to have it both ways. Take solitude and social maneuvering.
Yeah.
On one hand, he's all about mastering your emotions, strategizing, playing the long game from the shadows. But then, bam, he's telling you to be a social butterfly, charming everyone, working your way into positions of influence.
Right. It's like, which one is it? You can't do both.
Exactly. It makes you wonder if these inconsistencies actually weaken his whole argument. Is this a unified philosophy or just a bunch of observations about power that don't really fit together?
That's a good point. It's almost like he's presenting two different paths to power, and it's up to the reader to figure out which one they want to take.
Yeah, I see that. But this back and forth, this solitude versus being super social, it reminded me of another big point Greene makes, decoding human psychology.
Oh yeah, that's at the core of his whole approach. If you want real power, you gotta understand what makes people tick. Their weaknesses, their desires, even the ones they hide.
He's basically saying, become a master manipulator of the human mind. But honestly, that's the part that makes me the most uncomfortable. It feels so cold, so calculated.
I get that. And it's important to remember that Greene's way isn't the only way to think about power and success. There are other ways, frameworks that focus on things like collaboration, empathy, ethical leadership. Maybe those resonate more with you.
Okay, that's what I was hoping we'd get into. Do you always have to step on others to get what you want? Can you be successful and influential without resorting to all that manipulation?
Absolutely. In fact, lots of people would say those qualities are essential for true success and fulfillment in the long run. Take servant leadership, for example. It flips the whole power dynamic on its head.
Interesting. Tell me more.
It's about putting the needs of your team, your community first, empowering others, leading by example instead of trying to control everything.
So instead of clawing your way to the top, you're focused on lifting other people up, creating a more collaborative and supportive environment.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that real power comes from empowering others, not just holding on to it for yourself. Think about leaders like Nelson Mandela or the Dalai Lama. Their influence comes from their compassion, their integrity, their unwavering commitment to serving others.
Wow, those are some inspiring examples. It's a good reminder that you don't have to be ruthless or cutthroat to make a real difference in the world. But what about the rest of us? The people who aren't leading nations or social movements? How can we apply these principles in our everyday lives?
It starts with a shifting perspective. Instead of seeing every interaction as a power struggle, focus on building real connections, foster trust, support the people around you.
So remember that we're all in this together, that real success comes from working together and supporting each other.
Exactly. It's about moving away from that win-lose mindset. Embrace a more collaborative approach where everyone has the chance to succeed. And while we're talking about different approaches, there's another framework worth considering. Authentic leadership. It emphasizes self-awareness, leading with integrity, staying true to your values.
Authenticity. That's a powerful concept.
Yeah.
Being genuine, transparent, not hiding who you really are, even the parts that might seem imperfect.
Yes. Recognizing that true strength lies in embracing vulnerability, not pretending it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
People are drawn to leaders who are real, who they feel have their best interests at heart, and who aren't afraid to show their human side.
Like that saying, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And I think that applies to power dynamics too. If people sense you're being fake or manipulative, it destroys trust, and that undermines any influence you might have.
100%. Authenticity creates trust. And trust is the foundation of any strong relationship, personal, professional, even on a societal level. Think about someone like Brené Brown. Her work on vulnerability and shame has reached millions of people. And she did it by being open, sharing her own struggles, and encouraging others to do the same.
She's a great example. It really highlights that true power often comes from embracing vulnerability, not hiding behind a mask of perfection.
Absolutely. It takes courage to be vulnerable, to let people see the real you, flaws and all. But that vulnerability can build deeper connections, foster trust in a way that manipulation just can't.
So maybe the real key to lasting influence isn't mastering other people. Maybe it's about mastering yourself, your values, your ability to connect with people on a deeper level.
It's an interesting idea. Perhaps true power comes from knowing yourself, your strengths and weaknesses, leading with integrity and authenticity, not tricks and manipulation.
Now that's a message I can get behind. It feels a lot more empowering, and it feels more aligned with the kind of world I want to live in. But even with all these other ways of thinking about power, I still think there are times when knowing Greene's laws can be helpful.
Oh, I agree. It's not about throwing out his insights completely. Understanding how power works, even the less savory parts, can help you navigate tricky situations more effectively.
So you're saying know the rules of the game, even if you choose to play by a different set of rules.
Exactly. It's like knowing self-defense even if you never plan to start a fight. It gives you a sense of control, even in situations where you might feel
I
powerless.
get it. It's not about becoming a master manipulator yourself. It's about recognizing those tactics when they're used against you, and then knowing how to respond in a way that protects you and your values. But how do we find that balance? How do we learn from Greene without turning into someone we wouldn't admire?
I think it boils down to your intention, your self-awareness. Why are you seeking power or influence in the first place? What are your goals? And are you willing to cross your own ethical lines to get there?
Whoa, those are some big questions.
They are, and everyone's going to have different answers. There's no one-size-fits-all answer to this, just like there's no single definition of success. You got it. It's about finding what works for you, what fits with your own sense of right and wrong. Maybe it's leading with empathy and compassion. Maybe it's using your influence to support a cause you believe in. The important thing is to use this knowledge for good. Build bridges, not walls. Foster collaboration and respect, even when there are power imbalances.
So don't deny that power dynamics exist, but choose how you engage with them. And try to create a world where power is used to empower, not to take advantage of people.
That's the goal. And it takes being aware of your own intentions, how your actions affect others, and always trying to use your influence positively.
That's beautifully said. So maybe the real challenge isn't mastering the 48 laws of power, but mastering ourselves, our values, and our commitment to a fairer, more just world.
You said it. And maybe that's the most powerful lesson of all.
Wow, it's amazing to think about everything we've covered in this deep dive on the 48 laws of power. Strategic maneuvering, ethical dilemmas, even alternative ways to think about power and influence.
Yeah, it's been quite a journey. It really shows how complex this whole topic is. Power's got so many layers, and there's no easy answer to the question of how to use it the right way.
Absolutely. I think we've seen there's a whole range of approaches to power, from Greene's Machiavellian tactics to those more collaborative and compassionate styles. And what's really interesting is elements of both can exist at the same time. Knowing the ins and outs of power, even the manipulative stuff, can be valuable.
For sure. It's not about blindly following Greene's laws or completely rejecting them either. It's more about developing this awareness of how power plays out in different situations, and then making smart choices about how you want to participate in those dynamics.
So it's about knowing the pitfalls, but not falling into them. Using this knowledge to navigate tricky situations, but with integrity. Almost like having a map of dangerous territory so you can choose the safest, most ethical route.
I like that analogy. It's about having agency, even when the power dynamics feel unbalanced, and realizing that true power often comes not from controlling others, but from inspiring them, working together towards something bigger than ourselves.
That's powerful. Collaboration, not domination. Lifting people up, not tearing them down. And at the end of the day, making the world a better place. Which brings us to the most important question. What does this all mean for us in our everyday lives? How do we actually use these insights in our interactions and decisions?
It starts with you. Self-awareness. What are your values? What kind of leader, friend, colleague do you want to be? Are you looking for power over people or power with them?
Those are some deep questions.
They are, and everyone's going to have a different answer. There's no one right way to approach power, just like there's no one definition of success.
Right.
It's about finding what works for you, what aligns with your own moral compass. Maybe it's leading with empathy and compassion. Maybe it's using your influence to champion a cause you believe in.
Maybe it's finding that balance between standing up for yourself and being kind, between advocating for yourself and supporting others, and understanding that true power often comes from empowering others.
I completely agree. It's about recognizing we all have the potential to make a difference, whether it's in our own circle or on a bigger scale. And real fulfillment comes from using our influence for good, for creating a world where everyone has a chance to thrive.
That's so well said. Well, on that note, I think it's time to wrap up our deep dive into the 48 laws of power. What a journey it's been exploring this topic, from strategy to ethics and everything in between.
It's been fantastic discussing these ideas with you and with our listeners. I hope this deep dive has gotten some conversations going and maybe inspired you to think about your own relationship with power and influence.
And remember, the conversation doesn't stop here. Keep exploring these ideas, share your thoughts, and always try to use your power for good. And if you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe to the Page Club for more deep dives into the world of books and ideas. Hit that like button and share this episode with all the book lovers you know. Until next time, happy reading.